Yo, so just finished the South Island of New Zealand on the TA, and currently at the Zebra Backpackers Hostel or something in Wellington. Got here yesterday, taking a zero, taking some time off, and I thought I'd go through and talk about the gear that I used on the South Island because it did change up a little bit from what I initially thought that I'd be using, and it's going to change a little bit for the North Island too. So, for what I'm wearing, or what I wore Darn Tough socks. It's my second pair. I actually made it until the last day, until like 2 days ago with my first pair, but then they finally, the holes in the back were just getting too big, so I was just rubbing too much, so I switched those out. This is a new fanny pack that I just got. The one I used was this one, but it busted a bunch of holes in it, so I got a hole right here, and I pretty much had to sew the whole bottom up, so I wore a fanny pack. These are just some women's shorts, just some shorty shorts, lots of mobility. I wore a pair of compression shorts for the majority of it, but I actually ended up chafing super bad, so I ended up just freeballing it for a while. But I picked up a new pair of underwear in town, so hopefully I won't have that problem. And then I started with a long sleeve synthetic shirt that got ripped up because there's a lot of like thorny plants and stuff, so the sleeves got ripped up. So when I was in Lake Tekapo, I bought a short sleeve cotton shirt, which I used for probably about 200 kilometers, but then we had a bunch of rain, so I ended up buying this short sleeve synthetic shirt. I think it's just a rugby shirt from a Goodwill in town, or a Salvation Army, for like $5. So that's what I wore clothes wise. And then this is my second pair of Ultra Superiors. This is the 3.0. This one has it's from Wanaka, so probably about 800 to 1,000 kilometers on them. And they're holding up really well. They're starting to wear out a little bit in the toe area. This always splits right here, but overall the shoe hasn't split anywhere else, so I've had no problems with the Superiors. I actually love them. They dry out super well. They're great shoes. So in the fanny pack I carried, I kind of just transferred the stuff over here just because I've been using this one today, but actually no, I didn't even carry any of that. That's just for in-town stuff. But stuff I would carry on trail, I always kept hand sanitizer, my toothbrush and toothpaste. This is a little Dermasafe folding knife. I always kept that for opening packages and stuff like that. Just had some miscellaneous receipts that I haven't gotten rid of. My pair of headphones, eyedropper, bleach, kept a little flosser, and yeah, that's it. And then I kept my phone in there. So that was the stuff I kept accessible during the day. Oh, I also kept chapstick. Some of the things that I kept miscellaneous wise, usually I kept a pint in there. My buddy Scott and I would buy a pint when we were in town, and we would or buy a fifth in town and split it. So keep a sun. I would wear my sun hat a lot of the time. Usually a peanut butter jar for soaking and stuff like that. This was the spoon I was using. It was a Sea to Summit, just plastic spoon. But I think I'm gonna start using this little McFlurry spoon on the North Island because it probably weighs about half the weight. I don't know. I mean, at this point, weight's pretty negligible, but this thing weighs almost nothing, so I'm most likely gonna be carrying that. Other miscellaneous stuff, Spot GPS, used it pretty much every night to tell my parents where I'm at. Carried my retainer. I actually haven't worn this in a while, so been carrying it though. Carried sunscreen because when I went from a long sleeve to short sleeve t-shirt, I got absolutely roasted, so been carrying that. And then that's just some food in there. Other miscellaneous stuff, I kept this gallon-size Ziploc, and this kind of had all my like electronics and all that kind of stuff. So I would keep my passport in here, my credit cards, cash, my Visa, my external battery, which is charging right now. All that kind of stuff I would keep in a Ziploc. This is kind of like my med kit. I kept a lighter, some floss, which I use for sewing, another flosser, like the kind that I actually use for my teeth, antibacterial stuff, Advil, Imodium, Benadryl, all that kind of stuff, some gauze pad, a needle, some athletic tape, all that kind of stuff. Kept that in that bag also to keep it nice and contained. I had this goodbye sandfly stuff because the sandflies are really bad on the South Island, but I really didn't use it that often because it didn't really work. So I'm actually just kind of waiting to throw that in my balance box because I'm gonna pick that up on the way out of town tomorrow. So bought it, used it, didn't really work, so just kind of ended up carrying it. Earplugs, super helpful if you're on the South Island because you're using huts all the time, and some people snore super loud, or some people like get up like 50 times during the night to pee. So having earplugs is super nice. I carried a power brick. So this is just like one that plugs into the wall. It has 2 USB ports, so I could charge my phone and I could charge my external battery when I was in town. Battery's in the plug right now. It's an Anchor 10,000 milliamp, and then my iPhone cord is plugged in over there. So carry those also with me. And then I just carried an extra Ziploc bag. So for my pack, I carried the ULA Photon. This is just like the prototype that I was carrying before. In this front pocket, I would usually carry my tarp at the bottom, and then food for the day. But right now it has my tarp and my polycrow, and I'm not gonna take those out because they're still wet because we got hit with a bunch of rain. And since I'm in this hostel, I don't want to pull them out because they're pretty smelly at the moment. But I'm gonna be using them tomorrow. I'll get them nice and aired out. On this side, recently I started carrying my poles because I broke one of my poles. And then I didn't really like walking with one of them, but I also need them to set up my shelter. So just kind of left them in there. Usually had wet wipes in the side, my tent poles, and then these pockets have a little bit of a hole right here, so then I would eat snacks and then just tuck the trash in there, and it never came out, so that was nice. On this side, I usually just kept usually a 1.5 liter bottle, but I've been using a 1 liter for a little bit, so it's super easy to just access. You can reach in, pull it out. The TA has a lot of water, so you're not really worried about finding water sources or anything like that. Most of the time, I actually didn't set up my shelter. I didn't set up my tarp. I would just use my bivvy setup. So this is my argon top, and then I don't remember what material, but it was my make your own gear bivvy. I used this for a while. Whenever there were bugs, I would use it. I cowboy camp a lot, so even I would just lay that down and sleep on top of it if the bugs weren't bad. But a lot of the times I was also in a hut, so I didn't have to worry about that. My rain jacket right here, the North Face one. It didn't really wet out. It got pretty wet a lot of the time when it was raining, but it like absorbed water a little bit. But I mean, it worked. Just kind of use what you got. I started with carrying a different fleece. I started with carrying a lighter weight fleece, like just a micro crew fleece, and that was perfect for the majority of the South Island. But since I was going north, when I got to Arthur's Pass, it got really fucking cold. So then I switched to my Melanzana, and then I switched from wind pants to long underwear. So from Arthur's Pass all the way up through the Richmond Range, I carried warmer weather stuff, and I just haven't hit my bounce box yet. So as soon as I do, I'm gonna drop this off and grab my warmer weight stuff or excuse me, my lighter weight stuff. So yeah, like I was saying, I carried long underwear for a section of it. I wore a buff almost every day. I would wear it on my neck just as like sun protection. This is my first pair of darn tough socks. I'm gonna toss them in my bounce box when I can, because they got a bunch of holes, and hopefully get a free pair out of it. But darn toughs are great. They last forever, and super comfortable too. And then I kept this just lightweight beanie for staying warm if it was a colder night. I used a Nilo Foam or something pack liner. It's kind of like a lighter weight compactor bag, so I use that. And then I used my Enlightened Equipment Revelation, but it was actually really hot the majority of the time, so inside my bivvy I would sweat a lot, so I would usually just sleep with this next to me. But it was comfy. It did its job. And then I started with a closed cell foam sleeping pad that was just kind of like a knockoff brand. But then in a hut I found this ridge rest that was cut to pretty much the exact same size. So I started using this ridge rest. I don't know if it weighs more or less or whatever, but it's comfy and it got the job done. So yeah, that's what I carried. I'm gonna switch it up for the North Island. I'm gonna carry some warmer, warmer weather type stuff. So like a lighter weight fleece, and I'm gonna carry my wind pants instead. I'll probably ditch the beanie. I'm probably not gonna carry another pair of socks. Yeah, South Island was incredible. So recommend that you try it if you have the time. So.